Roughly 125,000 years ago, Neanderthals gathered near a lake to extract the grease contained within animal bones. To do so, they collected the carcasses of dozens of different animals, then smashed and heated their bones to produce a portable, high-calorie food source. This is the conclusion archaeologists have reached after studying animal remains and other artifacts found in central Germany. Archaeologists based their findings on more than 100,000 bone fragments found at the Neumark Nord site. From the remains, they identified at least 172 individual animals, including foxes, horses, big cats, and an extinct species of rhinoceros. The bones showed signs of having been broken into pieces, then heated. Archaeologists suspect the carcasses were intentionally processed to extract the marrow and grease trapped inside their bones, which would have provided important nutrients to hunter-gatherers. Researchers also found anvils, hammerstones, flint tools, and traces of fire at the site. The bones appear to have been broken in places that contain the most fat. These discoveries provide even more evidence in support of the Fat Factory theory. Since Neanderthals were the only known species of humans in Europe at the time, researchers conclude they were the ones who were responsible for the fat production at the site. The findings push back the timeline for grease rendering by nearly 100,000 years. Previously, the oldest known evidence of the practice dated to around 28,000 years ago, more than 10,000 years after Neanderthals went extinct. They also add to the growing body of evidence that Neanderthals were more sophisticated than previously thought. Other bones found at the site suggest they were hunting and butchering large prehistoric elephants, which would have provided meat for hundreds of people. How the Neanderthals processed the bones isn't entirely clear, but researchers suspect they created containers out of birch bark or deerskin and filled them with water and bone fragments. Then, they placed the containers over a fire and let the water boil for several hours. Eventually, the fat trapped inside the bones would have floated to the surface. Once they let the concoction cool, Neanderthals could then skim the bone grease from the top of the water. Neanderthals may also have intuitively understood that eating bone grease was critical for their survival. This practice likely helped save them from a type of malnutrition called rabbit starvation, also known as protein poisoning. The condition, which can be fatal, occurs when humans eat too much protein and not enough carbohydrates or fat, especially during times when carbohydrates were scarce or unavailable, such as winter and spring. Neanderthals would have needed to consume fat to maintain their health.